sea monkeys, the perfect pet for someone who, under absolutely no circumstances, should be allowed to keep an actual pet. If you're the kind of person who is amazed by the most mundane bullshit possible, like paint drying or 3.5 Men, then sea monkeys might just be for you. You don't even need to do much to keep them alive, which leaves you lots of free time to guffaw at Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon. They have got to be the biggest scam of the 21st century. It's the toy that promises everything and delivers absolutely nothing. But it's not the fault of these poor little brine shrimp fellas, it's the marketing around them. The way these things are marketed, you would be forgiven for thinking they were going to be proper entertaining. Not just, you know, this okay, I guess, for like 5 seconds. Hey buddies. Sea Monkeys was the brainchild of Harold von Braunhut, also responsible for other mail-order tat like the amazing X-ray specs, note absolutely not X-ray at all, and how come it's okay to look through a woman's come on mate. And he actually also invented those creepy eyes in dolls that roll back when they're laid down, which I'm not keen on, plus, you know, various gag gifts. Supposedly he had nearly 200 filed patents before his death in the early 2000s, and also he might have been, and trigger warning here, a white supremacist. Which was news to me actually, until I live streamed playing Sea Monkey's PlayStation 1 game and a viewer just casually threw that one out in the chat. According to various publications, the creator of Sea Monkeys raised money for the Aryan nations with parts of his sales from an unfoldable baton he invented. And he also attended some white supremacist rallies, possibly as a speaker. Now obviously the creator's political views have zero bearing on whether or not sea monkeys are a shit toy, although I have to admit it does make me look at them in a different way. You can break the cycle, guys. You need to be strong enough to stand up and say no, my creator's views are not mine. Guys? In an LA Times article I'll link in the description, he denied this when interviewed. I really went down the rabbit hole looking into this, but ultimately this video is about a shitty game, and I tried to keep depressing as hell stuff like that out of my videos, but I just wanted to touch upon that issue just in case it came up in the comments. But if you're interested, you can research that and, you know, make your own conclusions whether he was or he wasn't. Sea monkeys are a hybrid of various species of Artemia, a kind of brine shrimp. And when you really look into the biology of them, they really are fascinating creatures. These shrimp can shut down completely while still being alive, a process called cryptobiosis. Kind of relate to them. Brine shrimp had been sold as fish food for years prior to Braunhut having the idea of turning them into a marketing gimmick, and he was fascinated with the idea of them surviving in stasis as eggs for decades before hatching. He ended up working with a marine biologist to find a way of making tap water simple for the shrimp to live in without dying in like 10 seconds. They also needed to be big enough to be seen and live long enough to be classed as a pet. He called the product Instant Life, but it didn't really take off under that name. So we have the idea of selling them in comic book advertising space, and to go with it, a comic book style artwork. Instant Life became Sea Monkeys because, according to Tim Walsh in his book Timeless Toys, Braunhut observed the shrimp have long tails like monkeys. The design on the marketing was made for Braunhut by illustrator Joseph Orlando, a talented comic book artist who reimagined the simple brine shrimp into mermaid-esque nautical creatures living in magical kingdoms. Yes, I bought some sea monkeys to do this review. Look at these hideous little things with weird suckers on their heads. I don't know if I want a pet that looks like that. Here's how the sea monkeys arrive, by the way, in a little sachet. They come as eggs, and it's honestly pretty cool how they can stay unhatched for years and years until it's the right time for them to venture out into the world. Now, I have to be absolutely honest with you guys, I got this sea monkey set, and then, out of character for a second, had a depressive mental breakdown. Back in character, okay. And there were loads of sea monkeys in here, but once I was ready to film this vid, all of them had died. Apart from this one sea monkey that I'm assuming ate all the other ones. I hope so, because that is metal. Before anyone has a pop at me for letting them die, well, I did everything right and according to the instructions. You meant to feed them a tiny bit of this powder stuff, and I was doing that. And I wasn't overfeeding them or anything. But these things aren't capable of feeling pain or emotions, so I don't think they gave too much of a shit about dying. you'll notice that they do not at all look like the things on the packet, the website, or any of the marketing since they were conceived. Even though I guess you could say modern day consumers have a little bit more savvy about them, the modern day marketing for the whole sea monkeys thing does say stuff like they are playful and eager to please. Spoiler alert, they're just shrimp. They don't even actually have brains, not in the conventional sense anyway. Teaching a sea monkey tricks would be like trying to teach comedy to the cast of Mrs. Brown's Boys. They were advertised relentlessly in comic books for years, and there's all sorts of claims, like you can teach them tricks, bullshit, they are loving and affectionate, bullshit, and my favourite, they race and take turns riding each other's backs like cowboys on their ponies. What they're actually doing when they do that is shagging. In fact, sometimes it takes them days to finish up one mating session, which is insane. Hey, cut that out, guys, I'm trying to do a video. Well, let's see if I'm any better at keeping virtual sea monkeys alive. It's Sea Monkeys on a Disc. Wow, distilled. The amazing Virtual Sea Monkeys was made by Creature Labs, and I'll get into why it's significant it was made by Creature Labs a bit later. This PC version was released in 2001. I'm sure this is going to be amazing, you guys. I wasted days of my life on games like Insaniquarium in my teens. I am ready to waste even more precious hours on this earth by looking after these friggin' things. Just a warning, the early 2000s 3D rendering you're about to see may cause severe reactions in those of a nervous disposition. Yes, that's right. God has truly forsaken us. And can you blame him? I mean, look at that. Oh, that's a good way to start a game, isn't it? By making sure the player is so struck with fear with these absolutely horrendous graphics that they just don't want to touch the controller at all. Look at these children! Did the designer that rendered these absolute creatures even know what a child looks like? Are they on some kind of register and they aren't allowed to know what a child looks like? Because if I wasn't already not set on the idea of crotch goblins, them coming out looking like that would be the final nail in the child-free coffin for me. So you can have multiple different tanks, which is basically save states. So let's start our virtual sea monkey journey. Wait, what was that? I know this might seem like I just have a really filthy mind, but when I first saw that screen just for a split second, I thought I was looking at a lewd. I mean, you've got two unclothed Caucasian humanoid bodies. It really does look like we're looking at two naked humans. And that creepy way they're smiling at each other as if they're being paid to look as though they're actually into each other is, again, very reminiscent of pornography. So, I mean, can you blame me? I can't get over the fact that they are so keen to make sure no one mistakes sea monkeys as being gay, that they have to throw a friggin' hairdo on the female one. Actual brine shrimp do have specific gender differentiations, but one of their antennae is visibly longer. Why couldn't they just do that? Look, I really don't want to go on about how maybe the creator was a white supremacist, but it does not help that all of the sea monkeys in the marketing and in these games as well are Caucasian looking with blue eyes. Unfortunately, I was only able to get this PC version working in Windows 98 compatibility mode on my modern computer. There's a few glitches and graphical artifacts here and there that aren't really supposed to be there. The thing is, I don't have access to an older computer, so we're just gonna have to run with how it is. The gameplay and the visuals are very, very minorly affected. And don't worry, there's more than enough else for us to complain about. First thing is you need to open up a sachet of instant life. That's what it's called on the Sea Monkeys marketing, which is bullshit. It takes a few days for them to hatch, even after you've purified the water. But in virtual sea monkeys, at least that's true. Right away, you'll get two of one gender and one of the other. Sorry about the window bar at the top here. I spent literally hours trying to get this thing running without constantly reminding me what I'm playing. But at the top here is 4 categories. The heart is where you'll find sea monkey food, a house, and also a sachet of more instant life. Then you've got fish, which also includes some seaweed. The cogs symbolise a couple of different toys for the sea monkeys and stuff that you'll need to keep them alive. And finally, the hand is just this thing called an aqua leash, which I'll get to in a minute why it's bullshit, and a recycling symbol, which is the only way you can get rid of some of the items. You'd be given for thinking something called an aqua leash might help out when these stupid things get stuck, but it's not a leash at all. It's a pipette that you can suck them into and then you just sort of look at them, see their stats. and when you let them go, they're in the same place that they were before. Maybe they didn't want to put in an actual leash just in case I start strangling them. This is one part of being a retro gaming YouTuber that nobody appreciates. How long it takes just to capture footage for some games. I literally spent hours capturing everything I needed to from this frigging game. Not because I was having a nice time, but because the gameplay is so slow. It's infuriatingly slow. And also on my first playthrough, I forgot to click record and realised about an hour and a half into it and wanted to kill myself. But I didn't kill myself though, so don't worry. So to be able to afford any of the stuff from the top menu, you need pearls. Pearls are in these clams that open and shut, and your sea monkeys go pick them up for you, if they can be bothered, which very often they aren't. These sea monkeys are friggin' stupid. I mean, they really are. They're constantly getting stuck on the scenery, not being able to pick up food because they're locking in a circle around it, and getting to a clam when it's shut, turning around to piss off and leaving the all-important pearl inside it, all while paddling along at absolutely could not give a shit speed. So your second packet of Instant Life is going to cost you 50 pearls. Your first 3 sea monkeys will literally die of old age before you collect that, so you're going to need them to reproduce. But you have to make sure there's enough oxygen in the tank for them to not die of the lack of that first. So you need to spend 3 pearls on bits of seaweed. Or you could sit around and wait for them to collect 10 pearls, which takes friggin' forever, and add a bubble machine. That does stop them going to the surface so much, which means they might collect pearls more frequently. There's these little snails in the tank that you can pick up and drop near the clams. When you click them, they flash and attract the sea monkeys. This is often the only way to get the friggers to do their sodding job. That is, if they don't get stuck on the scenery. Also, how come I can pick up the snails but I can't pick up the pearls? I appreciate then we wouldn't have a game, but it's still bullshit. So now you're going to need to buy a house for them, and to do that you're going to need to wait for 20 pearls to be collected, which honestly takes at least 10 minutes by my counting, and that's even if you're pissing about picking up snails and making them flash. Now a male and a female sea monkey can go into the house, have sex, or in the very American way the game describes it, wait for the stork, and 2 baby sea monkeys will follow them back out again. The gameplay footage you're seeing here is actually my 3rd attempt at playing this game properly. Because on my first 2 goes of playing before I could afford to buy the house after pissing about getting bubble machines and seaweed, the lone female of the group died. That happened twice before I was able to get them to start shagging. So it was about 40 minutes of gameplay just gone. The only thing you can do is try and get the 2 remaining male sea monkeys to pick up enough pearls to get a new sachet of Instant Life. But the new sachet of Instant Life will cost you 50 frigging pearls, which will take 1,000,000 years to collect with these 2 frigging idiots. By which point the pair of them will have died of old age anyway. So it's friggin' bullshit. But once that house is built and the sea monkeys start reproducing, now you're approaching a good pace. The babies can pick up pearls just like adults can, and it's not unusual for the sea monkeys to reproduce, only to turn right back around and go and reproduce again. Little horned dogs. You can tell a sea monkey is dying when it goes all slow and sluggish. There's this food called plasma that the game says will help sluggish sea monkeys, but every time I chucked it near a dying one, it just swam right past. I noticed quite often a dying sea monkey will go back into the house for one quick last hurrah and then die the instant it comes back out again. Fair play, it seems like a nice way to go. But even with a tank full of sea monkeys, picking up the pearls is taking forever, and to purchase all the items you do need to have a lot. This thing here is supposed to be a water purifier, but it looks a lot more like a fish from the 7th layer of hell. It cost me freaking 20 pearls as well. Or you can spend 20 pearls on a jukebox, and that does actually seem to be the best way to get the little pricks picking up pearls. You just have to keep picking it up and putting it near the clams and turning it on. A choice of 4 obnoxious tunes too, great. I'm so spoiled right now. The music, by the way, in general, is awful. It never changes. It's the same loop of about 10 seconds over and over again. I actually had to turn the speakers off so I could record the footage. I was gonna get stabby. There's a bunch of fish you can buy for just 10 pearls each. I don't think it makes a huge difference to anything because the sea monkeys just seem to like petting them and nothing else really. Even the more expensive ones like this anglerfish don't really seem to change anything. I liked the electric eel because it doesn't do anything apart from zap the sea monkeys, and after more than an hour of this was hugely amusing to me. You need like, I don't know, 1,000 pearls altogether to get all of the ornaments and all of the fish and the friggin' octopus, which is terrifying, by the way. So what I ended up doing was just leave the game running and then go off and do more important things. And I kid you not, after waiting more than 45 minutes, these lazy fuckers had only gathered about 220 pearls. Which meant that I could buy a galleon that does frig all, a bubble whirlwind which does more of the same, and the aforementioned terrifying octopus with eyebrows. You think I want an octopus with eyebrows? Nobody wants that! And once you've collected all of the fish and the things, you realise that this entire experience was of zero value at all. You don't get anything cool or special for doing that. The sea monkeys don't learn anything, they don't have any learned behaviour or evolution. You've just got a really crap screensaver. But then again, I don't know what I was expecting. Once you get that first house and they start reproducing, there's really no challenge at all. The only challenge was hoping you'd get pearls quick enough before one of the first 3 died, and then you can pretty much just leave them to it. I mean, it's boring, but that is easy. And even if you do look at it as a screensaver, it's a really crap one. The music is so annoying, there's no way that you can be calmed by it. You know, in the way that you might be calmed by seeing a fish tank. Plus, the sea monkeys move around in this jaunty, stressful way that it just doesn't look nice. Not to mention the fact that so many of the fish appear to be swimming backwards. It's all kind of chaotic without being entertaining. I have to hand it to this little guy. Watching him sort of swim about is way more interesting than playing this game. After being so bored that I thought my eyes were going to melt from my skull, watching this little guy is like playing a PlayStation 5. The thing is, the company Creature Labs had already released their Creatures series before this, when they were still called Cyberlife. The Creatures series was a frankly sophisticated series of games with a big focus on a type of artificial intelligence that they were calling artificial life. The first game, with the concept and design by computer scientist Steve Grand, was released in 1996 and features these little alien creatures that you need to train and keep alive with all sorts of things to interact with. It was frankly astounding for its time. I mean, the complexity behind the coding of this artificial life, not artificial intelligence, the team were working towards artificial life. It's mind-blowing. It's therefore too highbrow for me to cover in a video, frankly. So putting Creature Labs on this game would make anyone familiar with the popular Creatures series assume that they might get the same level of intuition here, but they absolutely do not. Even though the same modified engine was used from some of the Creatures games, the sea monkeys are they're just utter morons. This is frankly embarrassing from a company which really spearheaded the concept of artificial life in video games. You know what something as boring as this needs? To be put on a home console! Like the PlayStation 1. Oh, that will solve it. Yep, it got put on the Game Boy Advance too, but I don't have a copy of that. But it's essentially the same game as the PlayStation 1 version. So. This PlayStation 1 version does treat us to that 3D intro again. I do enjoy me some PTSD. Not traumatized enough by the intro from hell a second time? Don't you worry. The sea monkeys on the title screen have got you covered this time. Jesus, what is that? No, please, I'll do anything. Just leave me alone. Oh God, look at this one in a wig. It looks like it's been forced to do a toothpaste advert at gunpoint. Look at the official sea monkey marketing cartoons, and then look at these things. Cartoons are almost approaching cute in a terrifying naked way. How did these designers see that and come out with this? I wish this video could end right here, but unfortunately the PlayStation 1 version of the Sea Monkeys is an entirely different game, so it needs an entirely different review. This version was made by a different company, ELO Interactive, or ELO Interactive. That was a dev company that also did the console versions of the Creatures series. The challenge of porting Creatures, and I guess the Sea Monkey game, to a console is the massive reduction in memory space. There's no way a PlayStation could have accommodated for all the gubbins behind the intuitive and complex artificial life coding of Creatures on the PC. But that PC Sea Monkeys game didn't have intelligent sea monkeys, they were morons. So maybe it won't be too hard to transfer them across? But this isn't a virtual fish tank this time. It's basically the world's crappiest puzzle game. You play as this friggin' thing, and you need to collect all of the goldfish in each area before the sea monkeys get to this big clam thing. The sea monkeys, again, they're utter morons. Think lemmings, but like, stupider. You need to move stuff around in the environment for them to make it safely to the clam, but they, again, often get caught on the scenery. If you run out of time or all your sea monkeys die, you lose. But also, if you complete the level without collecting all the goldfish, you lose anyway. I've just realised, we're playing as that water purifier from the PC version. This is a game where you play as a water purifier. That's the main character there. All right, let's look at the instructions and try and make sense of this before I get absolutely smashed. It is your mission to control Nautilla, the retired lady babelfish. What's a retired lady babelfish? Jesus, one of them. But sorry, why is it relevant that Nautilla is retired and a lady? Is that something that's automatically worth praise? There's plenty of people in the world who are retired and a lady. They don't go on about it. They just learn how to quilt and start accumulating cats. The instruction book is so keen you really stick in your craw that she is retired and a lady. It mentions it at least 3 times. It also constantly tells you that she's a babelfish. I swear, the phrase babelfish is repeated 20 times, often in the same paragraphs. Who wrote this shit? A babelfish is a plot device in Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a yellow fish that the main character puts in his ear so that he's able to understand the languages of aliens. And it's obvious the instruction book is referring to that. It isn't some kind of daft coincidence. But it also says that Nautilla is reading your thoughts. And the reason there's a time limit on each level is that Nautilla is a babelfish, and babelfish do not normally live around here. When time has run out, Nautilla will stop being able to read your thoughts and you'll not be able to help your sea monkeys. That's not how babelfish in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy work. They have to be inside your ear to translate for you. Although I really don't want that thing to be in my ear with its whirring, spinning, sucking nozzle thing. It'd be like having a tiny Ed Sheeran in your ear canal. Nautilla is a sprightly babelfish pensioner. In her youth, she was a communications manager for gene scientists on planet Albia. She what? She was a communications manager. This water purifier turned Rosetta Stone. This thing used to be a communications manager. How the hell does she have a better CV than I do? Bloody hell, love, with those qualifications, you're coming out of retirement to friggin' look after some idiot sea monkeys. That must burn that. I guess her pension got stolen or something. That's harsh. So Planet Albia is the planet from the game series of Creatures by Creature Labs. And incidentally, the creatures you get to look after in those games were the creation of some Albion race called the She. So it's likely the instructions in this Sea Monkeys game is saying that Nautilla here used to work for the She. That means that the amazing virtual Sea Monkeys is officially part of the Creatures series canon. But it also means that the lore of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is directly connected to the Creatures series. I have no clue if they received any kind of permission for that. Original Creatures creator Stephen Grand wrote in his blog that he did meet Adams at an artificial intelligence event back when Creatures was being showcased, and Grand is a big fan of Adams' work. And Adams said of the Creatures game, "This is a giant leap forward into a new and unknown world. It is awe-inspiring. I first saw this product in the same week that evidence was discovered of life on Mars. This is more exciting." However, Adams passed away in 2001, and this game was released in 2002. Plus, the original Creatures team and Stephen Grand don't appear to have had anything to do with the Virtual Sea Monkeys PlayStation 1 game apart from handing over the assets. So I like to think this is a really rubbish but well-meaning and kind of touching tribute to Douglas Adams, sneaked into a franchise that he was, fascinated by. I don't have the instruction manual for the earlier released PC game, but in that game what we see as Nautilla in the PlayStation 1 version is literally just a water purifier. So yeah, this is bizarre fusions of fandom lore. Now on to some more bizarre lore the instruction book comes out with. The writer tried very hard to come up with a reason for collecting the gold fish. And no, I wasn't saying it wrong, because according to the instruction book, they are made of pure gold. They are so valuable that they must not be left behind under any circumstances, and that's why all the gold fish have to be picked up. Wow, that is one of the stupidest things I've ever read. I'm actually quite impressed. Shut up, Ed Sheeran! I don't think I've ever had a video game explain to me why collectibles need to be collected. Like, you just collect them, they're collectibles. Most, if not all, of the assets from the PC game are reused for these levels, which is thrifty. But you don't have any option to muck about with the tank outside of stuff like moving rocks or luring stuff that kills sea monkeys away. So it really is just Lemmings, but really, really shit. It's boring, repetitive, and there are 70 levels of this. 70. Now, I love animals. I really do care about them. I'm one of those gamers who really doesn't like killing animals in video games. Which is why playing the amazing virtual sea monkeys is a new experience for me, because I have never, in all of my gaming life, given less of a shit about a virtual creature than I do these sea monkeys. I care less about these sea monkeys than I do about the lowest faction in Heroes 3. I care even less about sea monkeys than I do about myself, and I really friggin' hate myself, so that is impressive. Literally, I just want them to die now. So let's have them die. Come here, piranhas. Ha! That is one of the funniest sounds I've ever heard. Do it again. I would have preferred some blood rather than the PG bubbles too, but you know, I'll take it. This shot of them being mauled by piranhas is, it warms my cold heart. Well, I played it so you don't have to. I welcome sympathy. Please hand it over. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I am now gonna go and try and get Ed Sheeran out of my ear.
Oh, we're going out tonight where sea monkeys go. I'll take a couple shots and I catch fish a lot and I swim out to shore. I was like, oh my god, look at the time. I need to get these monkeys in a line. Where did you go? Did you get the piranhas to kill them? Oh no, no. Bloody bubbles blood. Was hoping for carnage, but that scream is good. Ooh, one of the worst games on the PS1. Ooh, thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next one.